And we are waiting for the latest from the National Hurricane Center every hour until landfall and even beyond. We will get updates from the National Hurricane Center. The hurricane hunters will fly up until it makes landfall, gathering data. Max sustained winds as of 9 a.m. 150 miles per hour with higher wind gusts. It is moving to the northwest at 14 miles per hour, still about 40 miles south-southeast of Grand Isle. And we can actually zoom in a minute and I'll show you the radar. But this is the latest track, bringing it as a Cat 4 hurricane with max sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Greater than 156 miles per hour, Cat 5 hurricane. So whether it gets that Cat 5 hurricane status or not, it's still going to bring catastrophic damage to our friends in the Bayou parishes and near the south, near Lafourche Parish, possibly Terrebonne Parish, depending on where it moves ashore. It is expected to weaken because it's going to run into wind shear, land interaction, and some drier air. But do not let your guard down by any means. It's still likely going to be a Cat 2 hurricane as it moves inland. Cat 1, wind gusts over 100 miles per hour. Certainly a good chance at this point. And as you see, the center of the cone brings it straight through Baton Rouge. If it wobbles a little more to the east, then yes, our impacts would not be as great. But if the core moves over Baton Rouge, we're going to get some pretty significant wind. Plan on widespread power outages at this point. So take the extra time, take this time now before the winds really start to pick up to charge your devices, charge your phones, get those weather radios ready to go, put the batteries in. So if you do lose power, then you have the battery backup. So if you have any portable chargers, that would be perfect to do so. And if you do lose power and you're watching us on TV, you can find us on the live stream as well, and then on Facebook. We will be here now all the way until tomorrow. So we're not going to leave you stranded by any means. You can count on us. We'll have team coverage and we will continue to keep you guys posted. But let's continue to go through the track. Again, if it does shift a little more to the west, then again, the Baton Rouge Metro will feel significant impacts. If it moves closer to I-55, our winds are still going to be strong, still expecting at least hurricane force winds with higher gusts. So plan on that. Take the time. Once we tell you guys to hunker down, if you live near the coast, you need to already be hunkered down because, again, we have long ways to go. It has not even made landfall yet. And once that core of the storm, that northern eye wall, starts to move ashore, it's going to get bad for our friends in the south, so near the coast. So, again, it's going to move inland, and then once it moves into Mississippi, then it will start to weaken into a tropical storm and then eventually bend to the northeast. So let's get a live look of our VIPIR radar. There's the core. You see all that bright red. We're seeing flashes of lightning. So that tells me that is still intensifying, which was expected. We saw that rapid intensification, and it likely will continue to strengthen all the way up to landfall. If it makes 155 mile per hour winds, then it will be the strongest in terms of winds, strongest hurricane to strike Louisiana since records began in the 1800s. Again, that's if it reaches 155 mile per hour winds. So there's the eye. It is expected to move to the northwest, so it will likely strike near Grand Isle if it continues on this track. And so Golden Meadow, Port Sulphur, in for a very, very rough couple of hours. There's Grand Isle right now. It could clip Grand Isle and maybe move toward Golden Meadow. There's Jean Lafitte right now, dealing with likely some at least tropical storm force winds, likely dealing with some hurricane gusts. Same for New Orleans, Lockport, Homa, likely dealing with some intense winds as well as we speak. Thibodaux, you're not seeing any rain right now, but likely dealing with, again, some very strong winds. So again, here's a loop of it, and you can see how we're getting those outer rain bands, and then they stop. So again, once it starts to move closer to Baton Rouge, that's when we're going to have nonstop rain and then wind as well. And so we could have prolonged duration power outages because of this. So again, will likely start to dry out here in Baton Rouge just momentarily, but the winds will start whipping a good bit, and then we'll have more rain bands. Most of the tornado warnings have been well to our east. Denham Springs, you're dry right now. Shenandoah, driving into work, I saw a lot of lawn furniture still out at my neighbors, and so be sure, bring that stuff in, because again, you don't want any projectiles flying into someone's windows or even your windows as well. So again, take this time before winds really start to ramp up, okay? So again, make sure, because the winds could be pretty wicked later. 100-mile-per-hour gusts are a good possibility, especially if you live in Ascension Parish and closer to Lake Maurepas as well. Roseland, you're dealing with some gusty showers right now, some squally weather. Donaldsonville, Sorrento, Gonzales, French Settlement, you're likely feeling some rain and some strong winds. If you're not seeing rain yet, you're about to. Here's a look at the future radar. So you heard Brian, it essentially takes what the radar looks like right now and then estimates what it's going to look like. So again, within the hour, we could likely feel another rain band here in Baton Rouge near Walker, Livingston, Denham Springs, Shenandoah, Old Jefferson. So get ready for winds to pick back up on top of what we're already seeing. We haven't had all too much heavy rain just within the last 3 hours. You see just a little over 0.3 inches of rain in portions of Livingston Parish, and then a little over 1/10 of an inch closer to Iberville Parish as well. Here's a look at some of the winds, and these update every hour, so these will start to go up. These are the sustained winds, likely feeling gust. I'll show you the gust a little later. I'll have to drop that graphic into the show. But you see north in Thibodaux, so we got that north wind at 15 miles per hour, but as it moves ashore, winds are going to start to spin around, and then we'll get some eventual onshore winds as it continues to move to the north. But then north at Baton Rouge at 14 miles per hour, New Iberia, 22 miles per hour. This is very important. Extreme wind warning is in effect for the New Orleans Metro, Jefferson Parish, Lower Jefferson Parish as well, Terrebonne Parish, and then portions of Lafourche, all of Lafourche actually, all the way down to the coast. St. Bernard Parish as well. So again, I don't think actually the Orleans Parish is not under the extreme wind warning right now, but that could certainly change. And essentially what this means, that means winds over 115 miles per hour. And this would be for several hours. This is in effect until 10:45. We'll have to see if the National Weather Service extends this. We don't see these all too often. And so if we are put under an extreme wind warning, that means shelter in place. Treat it as if it's a tornado warning, because not just for a couple of minutes would winds be 115 miles per hour. This would be possibly up 1 to 3 hours. And so again, you need to treat this as a tornado warning. So think of a long duration tornado in that case. And you'll likely, if they're issued here, you'll likely get that emergency alert on your phone that it will make that loud noise and maybe startle you. You need to treat that very, very seriously. They issued one for Hurricane Laura, and again, it was just constant winds over 115 miles per hour, and that could cause catastrophic damage. So again, if that is issued, be ready to stay in place for several hours. I want you to stay in place regardless. Again, until the winds really, really start to ramp up, stay off the roads. You need to stay off the roads. Yes, if you need to make any last minute trips to the grocery, they might not be open at this point. Walgreens was closed last night. And so again, you need to take this seriously. Shelter in place. If you have kids, I know they're going to be stressed out. As a child living in Metairie, what I would do is just make a little fort, make a little camp in a hallway where there are no windows, close the doors, listen to the weather updates, of course. We had a little radio, turn the local TV up as loud as possible, have maybe some toys there for your kiddos and for your pets. and you just want to take shelter and just keep this a calm situation. We'll ride this out together. If you decided to stay, we will be here every step of the way. So you can count on us to keep you guys posted. But again, maybe get some puzzles, anything, or play on your phone as long as it's charging. Watch a movie until, again, if you lose power. Keep the kiddos safe. Keep yourself safe. I would just camp out and ride this out without any walls in the center of your home, a hallway. Get the air mattress out, make a little bed, anything like that, and just hang out there until this ends. Because again, conditions are going to start to get worse, and our weather is going to deteriorate here in the Baton Rouge metro. You see how it is near the coast already. So let's break down all the alerts we have in effect. Hurricane warnings going to continue until further notice. This means hurricane conditions are expected, again, until further notice. Again, we could have hurricane force winds, that's 74 miles per hour or greater. Higher wind gusts are a good possible bet at this point, and that's for our entire area. So what we're looking at the coast, borderline Cat 4, Cat 5. But again, whether it's 150 miles, 55 miles per hour or 157 miles per hour. Call it what you want. It is going to be a catastrophic hurricane for our friends near the coast. And I do want to stress, impacts are going to be felt well away from the center. And hurricane force winds are going to extend at least 30 miles from the center as well. The strongest winds, we're talking those 150 mile per hour winds, are going to be near the center, the extent of the center. It's not going to be widespread 150 miles per hour, but as you get further and further away from that eye, then the winds will be a little lower. But by the time it reaches us, we're still looking at possibly anywhere from a Cat 1 to a Cat 3 hurricane. And so winds sustained could certainly get over 100 miles per hour. If you live farther west, though, again, closer to Lafayette, your impacts are not going to be as significant unless it continues to move to the northwest and tracks a little more to the west of that cone. So if you have friends in Lafayette, check in on them. Make sure they're doing the same, taking the same precautions. But if you have friends on the North Shore or anywhere, basically from Grand Isle all the way to the state line, just check in on them. Shoot them a text. It's much different when we go through a hurricane now versus 10, 15 years ago. You can at least text until the cell phone towers, or as long as the cell phone towers are still intact. Again, 10, 15 years ago, we had to depend on Blueberry push notifications, if you do recall, but now at least we have that capability. But just check in on everyone, make sure they're staying safe, because again, this is also a product from the National Hurricane Center. It's a hurricane force wind probabilities, the chance that these areas could see hurricane force winds. And as you notice, the highest chance is obviously near the bayou parishes. But as you go inland, that probability is still very high for portions of closer to Ascension Parish, and then St. James Parish, St. Charles Parish, running about 80% chance. That has increased significantly from just last night as well. And then as you get closer to Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge metro, still looking at about, let's see, about 50, 60, 70% chance. And again, the closer you are to the core, you're more than likely going to have at least hurricane force gusts up to about 100 miles per hour. That is a good bet. Now this is also another product. This is the tropical storm wind probability. We're almost at 100%. So you can count on that. That means winds from 39 to 74 mile per hour, or 73 and then greater would be, again, hurricane force winds as well. So sustained tropical storm force winds, guaranteed again, but that could be from 39 to 73 miles per hour, but higher wind gusts are expected. I would lean higher toward maybe that 55 to 70 mile per hour sustained winds with higher gust. Plan on it, because again, it may not weaken substantially until it moves farther inland. Power outage forecast. Count on it. Just plan on it. Make sure your refrigerator, if you want everything to be a block of ice, turn it all the way up, but just make sure you keep it closed. If anything, what I would do is grab an ice chest for your camp that I was telling you about a little earlier in your hallway or just the center of your home away from windows. Close all of your doors wherever you are going to park and hunker down. And again, I would put everything that you want over the next couple hours in that ice chest so you don't have to open your refrigerator. That's a good idea at this point. We're expecting the possibility for at least widespread power outages. And again, inland, more than likely. It will be possible more so to our west, but not as likely. With some of those outer rain bands, especially as it moves inland, we're already seeing some rain bands spawn tornadoes. I'm not quite sure if they were confirmed, but in Mississippi and into Alabama, and even into Northwest Florida, that's going to be a possibility. But since the bulk of it, most of the tornadic activity or any of the tornado warnings were generally at least along and west of I-55. Here's a look at one of our, there we go. This is a look at one of the computer models showing wind gust. I think this is well below of what it's going to be. Because again, when you have a Cat 4 borderline Cat 5 hurricane, they're going to be higher than this, especially near that center. But just use this as guidance. This has it moving through Terrebonne Parish and then up through near Assumption Parish, more so closer to St. Charles Parish. It's kind of hard to see. Ascension Parish showing the potential over 60-mile-per-hour gusts, but again, I think it's going to be higher than that. Baton Rouge even higher over the 70s, but I also want to point out, even as it weakens and moves to the north, some areas are still looking at the potential for at least hurricane force wind gust. Also, we have storm surge alerts. We already saw the storm surge building, and especially if it moves a little more to the east, these folks are looking at, again, catastrophic storm surge. So if you know of anyone that stayed, check in on them. Again, we do not want to talk about statistics after this. You don't want to be a statistic as well if you are staying where there are floodwaters, because storm surge is deadly. It is certainly one of the most concerning things when it comes to hurricanes. Here's a live camera right now. It's not working all too well. In Leeville, you can just see rough water. Looks as though some storm surge as well covering the roads. But all in all, that is something we're watching for as well. Obviously, we're not going to have storm surge here in Baton Rouge, but near Lake Maurepas, what we have to watch for is the potential for 4 to 6 feet of storm surge. And keep in mind, when you have these onshore winds, it's pushing all that water up, and then all of our rivers are draining, the amines draining into that, and so they come together and they collide, they converge, and then that pushes all that water inland. So if you live near the amine or just any of our rivers in general, you need to watch for the potential for backwater flooding. We already have flood warnings in effect. A lot of our rivers are expected to reach major flood stage, and keep in mind that's just with the river or with the rain totals that we're expecting. So we'll bring those to you a little later. I do want to update them before I show them to you, because I know the National Weather Service did go ahead and they issued the update of the river flood warnings. Some spots near Morgan City to Port Fourchon, 8 to 12 feet of storm surge, and basically from Port Fourchon all the way to the mouth of the Mississippi River, 12 to 16 feet of storm surge. Even Lake Pontchartrain, 5 to 8 feet, even all the way in Mobile Bay as well, 1 to 5 feet. And again, from near the mouth of the river all the way to Ocean Springs, I believe, 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. And again, this water is just going to get pushed inland. That's what it is. Storm surge, you have your low pressure, the pressure drops, and then the water comes up, and the only place for it to go is to go inland. So that is why storm surge is so concerning. That's above dry ground. We've had high tide cycles as well, and that makes it even worse. So here's a look at the estimated rainfall. I do believe this is updated. Might have actually just updated. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. Are these updated?
I'll check.
But either way, we're looking at least 8 to 12 inches of rainfall. Obviously, the highest rain totals will be near and east of the center. We are going to have to watch where some of these rain bands set up, and hopefully they do not set up along the Florida parishes, along and north of the 10 and 12, because when that happens, again, all that rain falls into our rivers. Those rivers, all that water drains to the south, and then eventually you have that backwater flooding. So we're going to have to watch for that. The flash flood risk, this includes the Baton Rouge Metro. Brian confirmed those rain totals were still right. West and East Baton Rouge, all the way to the east, including the North Shore, all the way down to the coast, we have a high flash flood risk in effect. It goes from 1 to 4. High is level 4. So we are expecting flash flooding, and hopefully we don't have any flash flood emergencies. Now, if that were to occur, again, you want to get to the highest level of your home. I don't want you you're seeing the water come in or anything like that, and you're like, I'm getting out of here. Don't do that, because the water will come up quickly. Just make sure you get to safety. Safety comes first, keep in mind. Flash flood watch continues until Tuesday morning. We are still expecting at least some rain into Tuesday. We're going to get that tail end, and I'll show you what I mean by the tail end. All that moisture gets pulled in from the Gulf of Mexico. Here's a look at, again, the FUTURETRACK rain totals. Don't take this as gospel. This is just a model run, just to kind of show you, give you an idea of what the potential will be. It's only showing about 2.5 inches of rain here in Baton Rouge. Again, obviously, I do expect it to be at least a little higher, but it will be along and east of where the center moves ashore. It's estimating up to around 11 inches with locally higher amounts for Hammond. Plan on it, remember. And again, here's Tuesday. Notice rain totals continue to go up, because we'll likely have more rain, at least through then. This is Sunday. This is our in-house model, the Barron model showing you, and it is a little more farther to the east than the National Hurricane Center forecast. And typically with this, they don't eventually agree with the National Hurricane Center. We trust the National Hurricane Center. I want to stress that. They are the experts. They are human, whereas computer models, they're computers. So let's show you through 4 o'clock. This is showing it move inland, and you see how the winds are spinning around the center counterclockwise. So by then, Baton Rouge would be dealing with northeast winds, whereas New Orleans Metro, they would be dealing with southerly winds. As we go through, this is 7 o'clock. The afternoon and evening is going to be when Baton Rouge will be dealing with the worst of the weather. Now, if it does take this exact path, obviously areas closer to EBR Parish, Livingston Parish, Ascension Parish, even into St. Helena and portions of the Felicianas and points to the east would be dealing with the worst of the weather. Here's midnight. It's showing as it lifts to the north. What I mean by that tail end, it's pulling it up. Now, if the core does go through Baton Rouge, the eye, I do not want you to go outside and look at the eye. Yes, it's intriguing. Yes, it's cool scientifically, but you will get the strong winds on the back side of the eye. I do not recommend it. Stay in your safe place at least until this ends. Here's 9 a.m. We're still getting winds out of the west and possibly some of that moisture, wraparound moisture through Monday afternoon, so we'll watch for additional flash flooding. I also want to get to some of the other graphics just to show you. Ignore that flash flood alert. This is a tornado watch for areas along and east of the center. Potential impacts. This covers our entire area. 6 to 12 inches of rain with locally higher amounts. We'll have to watch for river and creek flooding. Winds 60 to 80 miles per hour with possible gust 90 to 100 miles per hour. Some maybe even higher, especially closer to the coast. Coastal areas 90 to 110 miles per hour. Obviously, it's going to be higher where the core moves ashore with higher gusts. Isolated tornadoes are possible through early Monday morning. Best chance for tornadoes where that tornado watch is, and generally in that northeastern quadrant and in those outer rain bands that move to the east. Storm surge, we already went over that, but 4 to 6 feet of inundation for Lake Maurepas. During the storm, Brian went over this as well. We just want to make sure we have a lot of people joining in at different times. Take shelter, and we already went over that as well. Just take shelter, make your camp in the center of your home, maybe in a hallway where there are no windows. Do not walk ever. Do not walk, swim, or drive through floodwaters. Also, make sure your pets are with you. You have all of their food. You have something to keep them calm. If you're stressed out, they're going to be stressed out as well. And if you have to bring them outside, make sure it's before the rough weather truly does come to our area. Also, again, you can always depend on us while we have power on air. You can also find us on the BR Proud app. We also have a weather app. It's a separate app from the BR Proud app. Just search for it in the Google Play and the Apple Store. I'm not quite sure what it's officially called, but just you guys know what I mean. Just look for the BR Proud app, and then the separate app is a weather app. You can get push notifications to your phone as they come in. As soon as they're issued, they will be sent to your phone as well. You can look at the latest track there. You can find all of the information, emergency information's on there. It is a fantastic tool to have, and I'm not just saying that. It uses it's created by Barron, and it's just wonderful to have. Just go ahead and download that. Social media, Facebook will be on the stream as well. The entire team's going to be here, and again, we have wall-to-wall coverage, extended coverage, all the way until this is over. And then again, brproud.com for news and weather updates, any closures or anything like that. We're going to take a quick break, but we have much, much more coverage ahead.